Well, hello again. It's Robert. Got a little bit of a Hank Snow playing in the background today. One of my favorite LPs of his. Actually, it's an early '60s Camden album, but it's of his early '50s recordings. So got a little Hank Snow in the background. But what I want to share with you, and hopefully not bore you today with, instead of 12-inch albums, is some of the earliest country music albums, which were 10-inch albums, LPs. So here we go. We're going to share a few. I pulled out a few out of my collection. And they, by the way, have been some of the toughest things to get over the past 30 or 40 years. If you do see one, it's beat up usually. So to get them in a near mint condition or close to that is very challenging. But here we go with some. First of all, Songs of the Smoky Mountains from 1949. Nice Columbia release on Roy Acuff. Features a Fireball Mail, Wabash Cannonball, Freight Train Blues, Wreck on the Highway, and others of those classic Columbia recordings of his from the 40s. Then we have Hank Snow, the early 50s Hank Snow sound with I'm Moving On, Golden Rocket, Rumba Boogie, Music Making Mama from Memphis, and others with that driving rhythm and style of his guitar work, and the Rainbow Ranch Boys backing. And speaking of Hank Snow, again, another one from the early 50s, his doing Jimmie Rodgers songs. There was an interest in Jimmie Rodgers songs, a resurgence as it were in the 50s. Lefty Frizzell did an album of them, Ernest Tubb did an album, Red Foley did a single, and Bill Monroe did a few songs. But Hank Snow gave really a very fresh look to him, again with his guitar work and his backing band with Jimmy the Kid, Southern Cannonball, Blue Yellow Number 7, and others. Then we got a Tex Ritter album. Not a big Tex Ritter fan, but I do love his recording of Bo Weevil from 47, Rye Whiskey I like, they're on here, along with other songs of his from that period. One of the two Hank Thompson 10-inch releases was Hank Thompson Favorites, which featured The Wild Side of Life, Humpty Dumpty Heart, Green Light, and some others on here. Then we have another Roy Acuff release from 49 on Columbia, Old Time Barn Dancers, and it's all fiddle instrumentals. The picture is of Roy on the fiddle. And Roy was a pretty good fiddle player, but he's not the fiddle player on these recordings. Tommy Magnus is the fiddle player, along with the rest of the Smoky Mountain Boys providing a backup on this nice album. And then we have Carl, Lefty, and Marty. This came out in the mid-50s. Carl Smith's Let Old Mother Nature Have Her Way, Marty Sing Me Something Sentimental, Lefty's Always Late, and a few other songs on a very nice compilation album. And then we have Slim Whitman Sings and Yodels. Very tough album to get on RCA. This is his first recordings from 49 and 50. Casting My Lasso Towards the Sky is an excellent recording, but nice early Slim Whitman hit. And then we have Homer and Jethro, Fracture of Frank Lesser, and they do his songs. The standout cut is Baby It's Cold Outside, which had been done a few years before this album come out. The others weren't really hits, but a nice listen, and Homer and Jethro's first of many LPs. And then we have Spade Cooley, love the cover. It's like an atomic cover on there. And some of his Columbia recordings from the mid-40s. Shame on You was a big hit by him. That's on here. Outstanding instrumental versions of Three-Way Boogie, Devil's Dream, Oklahoma Stomp, and others. Tex Williams was his singer at the time, and he's heard on a couple numbers on this. One of the two Chet Atkins 10-inch releases was this one. Featured his 1949 recording of Main Street Breakdown, his version of 12th Street Rag, and Oh by Jingo. And it's nice to hear the early Chet Atkins sound without the overproduced Nashville sound backup that appears on his records throughout the 60s and 70s. And then we have one of Elton Britt. This came out in the mid-50s. Featured Chime Bells was one of the many that was popular by him. His 1939 recording of Patent Leather Boots is on here as well. So it gives you a chance to hear what Elton Britt sounded like in his more so in his prime. And as we mentioned, there was a resurgence of interest in Jimmie Rodgers, and RCA started going back into his canon, releasing 10-inch albums. This was Memorial Album Volume 3, which had Blue Yellow Number 6, Pistol Packin' Papa, Jimmy's Mean Mama Blues, My Little Lady, and some of the other Jimmie Rodgers classics. From the mid-50s came this release of Carl Smith. His version of There She Goes, Loose Talk, Trademark, and others. There also was a nice 10-inch release of Carl Smith in 52. That one I don't have, but this is a very nice album. This came out around 55 of him. back to Hank Snow again. Hank Snow is an excellent guitarist, first rate. And this was an album that the RCA did in the mid-50s of guitar instrumentals by Hank and the Rainbow Ranch Boys, Madison Madness, 12th Street Rag, Rainbow Boogie, and others make this for one fine album. And then we have one of the 50s releases of Hank Williams on a 10-inch album with the Honky Tonk Blues, My Bucket's Got a Hole in It, Howlin' at the Moon, and some others that are on here as well. Nice Hank Williams. Again, I love the cover on this one. And then finally, the classic 1940s sound of Eddie Arnold with That's How Much I Love You, Bouquet of Roses, It's a Sin, Don't Rob Another Man's Castle, and others. That really is that classic Eddie Arnold and the Tennessee Plowboys style. So those are a few I wanted to share with you. I have others, but it gives you an idea of some of country music's first releases on LP. So thanks so much for taking your time and sharing these with me. Or I was glad to share them with you, rather. If you got any comments or suggestions, I always love hearing them. I appreciate them very much. I love older country music, whether it's Charlie Poole, Uncle Dave Macon, the Skillet-Lickers, or whether it's Hank Snow, Johnny Cash, Buck Owens, Hank Williams. I love all of that era of country music and find fascination with it. So I thank you for taking the time to watch and to look at some of these. And just take care of yourselves, enjoy your families, and have a safe rest of the day. And we'll see you again, hopefully real soon. Thank you now so much for watching and looking. Thanks again. Bye for now.